I was given around 20 minutes to talk about purposely. We'll see how long it's going to take, and then we'll have 10 minutes or so at least for questions, or even longer, depending, of course, on your availability as well. I'm going to share my screen with you as I've prepared a little presentation for you, and just do give me a shout if you can't hear me, or if there are any issues with the technology, or if you have any immediate questions. All right?
Great, thank you.
Great. So let me share my screen.
There we go.
Oh, can you see my screen?
Yeah, we can.
Excellent, brilliant. I am going to talk about embedding purpose in your business, and Purposely, the online tool that we have launched, which helps you to do exactly that. But before digging into that, I don't know whether you are familiar with UnLtd, so I just thought I'll say a few words about who we are as an organisation and what we do. UnLtd is the foundation for social entrepreneurs. We find, fund and support social entrepreneurs all across the UK to start up and scale up. We also work in Scotland. I have a couple of colleagues who work in Scotland, and as well as financial support, we offer other kinds of support for social entrepreneurs, such as access to workshops or mentoring and pro bono support, etc. So it's really wrapped around the needs of the social entrepreneur, and it's early stage as well as later stage support. So it's worth keeping an eye on UnLtd's website in case you're interested in any of our funding opportunities. And even if by any chance you're not eligible for our funding opportunities, there are lots of useful resources on our website, which can be freely accessed by anyone. So that's just a quick intro to UnLtd. And then just a few words about myself. I've been working for UnLtd for almost 2 years now. I work in the policy team, and my job is all about ensuring that social entrepreneurs, that social entrepreneurs, the evidence of how great social entrepreneurs are and how great solutions they're offering to tackling some of the most pressing social issues of the UK is seen by government and decision makers. So I really liaise with the government and various departments and try to ensure that social entrepreneurs are heard. So, for example, we fed into the government's Future of Civil Society consultation, which I'm now realising was just about England, but that's for example one example of where we would champion the voice of social entrepreneurs. And Purposely and the whole Purposeful Business project came about for various reasons. Firstly, we've realised, well, not just us, but that there is a clear emerging trend of purposeful businesses becoming more and more prominent. In the last few years, publications such as Harvard Business Review, Financial Times, Wired Magazine, which is not your usual purposeful space, are also talking about purpose and corporate purpose, and how having a purpose can actually help perform you better as a company. There is emerging evidence on how, especially when it comes to things like employee motivation and employee retention, companies with a strong sense of purpose do perform better. So that's a trend for us, for UnLtd even. That's very, very exciting and definitely worth keeping an eye on. And it's not just sort of thought leadership, but also the numbers. I have a few stats, and then one example here is that 22% of UK small and medium-sized enterprises have a particular social or environmental goal, which is over 1.2 million enterprises. And I think there is, without sort of, going deeper into whether this is a new phenomenon or not, I think purpose comes to quite a lot of SMEs quite naturally, in terms of quite a lot of SMEs see their contribution to their local community as quite an important thing of what they do. So they might actually not identify as, with the word purpose or the word social entrepreneur, but the bottom line is, lots of small businesses have really strong feelings about their role in the community and how they're creating valuable products and services for the local community and creating valuable jobs in their local community. So we've seen this trend of more and more businesses becoming purposeful, and more businesses embracing purpose. And yeah, at the same time, we've also seen that they do face a number of difficulties when they're trying to embrace it. And one of the issues is what legal form they would choose. And no doubt, many of you are familiar with this dilemma of trying to identify what would be the most appropriate legal form for you if you wanted to be a purposeful business. And there are options like community interest company and company limited by guarantee, but they all come with certain limitations around sort of how, not having shareholders or not being able to distribute as much of the profit as you'd like to shareholders, which means that they're not the best vehicle to attract investment and to attract capital. But if you can go and choose company limited by shares, which is, as you know, the default legal form for companies in the UK, basically, and a lot of purposeful businesses do go and choose this because this is the default option. They want to compete with other companies. They won't want to be different legally. And also it really enables you to attract investment, to get shareholders on board. But there are a number of risks associated with it because purpose is not logged in by default. There is a risk of mission drift. That means that it's difficult to ensure that on the long run the company will remain committed to their purpose, especially if they were to change directors or owners. Company may not be readily identifiable as a social venture, which means that they might not be ineligible for certain grants. And of course, there is also, given the decreasing trust in business these days from the public, a number of sort of people are quite skeptical about business, and especially in a context where so many businesses are claiming to be purposeful, where we all know that they're not. How can you show to the general public that you are genuinely doing good things? And actually, even the government started looking into this emerging movement of purposeful businesses, and what they can do as the government to make it a more enabling environment for purposeful businesses to start up and scale up. Now, and one of the challenges they've identified was this specific legal challenge about forms which I've just described. Now, what most people are not aware of, and most entrepreneurs and founders are not aware of, is that company law in the UK is already massively flexible because it enables businesses to incorporate their purpose into their articles of association, which is essentially fundamentally redefining what success means to your business. Because if you want to, you can include in your articles that actually advancing shareholder interest is not as important as your social purpose. Social purpose is your primary reason for doing the business, no matter what that so purpose is. Or you can put that on an equal footing, or you can say that, well, shareholder interest is still more important, but we do have a very strong social mission. So basically, in the UK, we already have a very, very flexible legal environment. Now, the challenge is that, firstly, most entrepreneurs are unaware of this flexibility. And secondly, even if you are, it's quite expensive and resource intensive to work with a lawyer and get bespoke articles of association. Now, this is why when this was so if you're interested in the sort of bigger policy landscape of purposeful businesses, I do, which you might not be. I mean, I'm a policy person, so I love those sort of things, but it's not for everyone. But in case you are, this mission-led business review from 2016 is available on the government's website. And if you just Google it, and lots of, quite a lot of organizations fed into it. We as UnLtd fed into it, and it includes a bunch of other recommendations about how to make it a more enabling environment for purposeful businesses, as well as sort of evidence around the relationship between purpose and performance. So it's quite an interesting read. But as a result of this review, and as a result of identifying this specific legal challenge, UnLtd started working on creating an online tool that helps companies incorporate their purpose. Companies limited by shares incorporate their purpose into their articles of association. And we were working with the law firm Bates Wells Braithwaite, so they provided the legal expertise, and we were backed by the government to do this. And the tool was launched earlier this year in February. It's still in beta, which means we more than welcome your feedback on it, and there will be a new version hopefully sometime in the near future. But at the same time, the user experience is not quite as smooth as we'd like to be, but the legal content is already out there for you to use, which has been drafted by lawyers. So you're already more than welcome to use this free online tool to help you get your modified articles. And just to run through again why it's so important and what are the benefits of incorporating your purpose. I prepared a few case studies from you from companies who've incorporated their purpose, and one of the themes is around having a clear focus and ensure, because it's in your fundamental document of your business, it really enables directors to make decisions in line with that purpose, and it really helps to ensure that you as a founder can build a company that reflects your ethics and deliver the impact you'd like to see. It also helps you make decisions, especially because it can be such a minefield, making decisions between profit and purpose. Having this very clearly written in your articles can really help you guide your decision making. For example, this company here, Reason Digital, was talking about saying no to work where they weren't their digital consultancy who were working on social good, and according to them, having that commitment to purpose in their legal articles really helped them to enable them to say no to things where they weren't comfortable with the company they were supposed to be working with, and saying yes to things where they felt that it's unacceptable and true to their values. It also helps people finding the right kind of investors. The company here, Active Minds, they create activity products for people with dementia, and they were Ben, the founder, he was talking about how having their purpose very clearly written in their articles have made it clear for any investors that their purpose is not just an add-on. It's not something they can change in the future. They either buy into the full thing or not get on board at all. As well as attracting customers. For example, making that commitment to purpose in their legal articles also made them gather evidence on their impact, which then on the long run helped them to secure further funding and win contracts from the NHS and private healthcare companies. And it also, purpose is attractive to customers. There is emerging evidence on that. And what I said in the beginning about sort of how can you as a company, demonstrate that you're authentic about your purpose, that you mean this. Making it legally binding is one way to do that. And then lastly, that's again something which will hopefully resonate with many of you in the room, is that you as a founder are very much concerned about your legacy, and it helps to make it clear that your purpose is not going to change if either of the co-founders left. So, for example, Ben & Jerry's, which is a company with a very, very strong sense of purpose, was acquired by Unilever. And obviously there are all sorts of like dilemmas around how can you ensure that, being part of such a large corporate, Ben & Jerry can retain their sense of purpose and commitment. And they did quite a lot about their legal articles incorporating their purpose to ensure that just because they were acquired by Unilever wouldn't be able to suddenly change the ethos and values of Ben & Jerry's. And then I wanted to just briefly talk to you about Purposely. As I've said, we were working with the Department for Digital, Culture, Media and Sport and Batewell's Braithwaite, who are a law firm, to create Purposely. And I don't know if any of you by any chance had a time or a chance to look at the tool, but if you go to getpurpose.ly, this is what you're going to see. And it's really a simple, free, easy to use tool. There are essentially 4 steps. You need to fill out a questionnaire, which is all about sort of helping the tool to find out where you are on the profit versus purpose spectrum, how important it is for your business to, for example, measure your purpose, your performance on purpose, and just really like probing you to like find out how important is your purpose. And then it gives you your results. There are 4 different models on the profit versus purpose spectrum. And it will give you that based on how strongly your answers match each of the model. This is the different models. So you can see at one end of the spectrum, model 1 is where profit is clearly more important than purpose, but you're still having a purpose and you're still willing to make commitment to it. So that's already, a lot more purposeful than lots of other companies out there. And then the model 4 is where purpose is clearly more important for you and you're willing to actually reinvest the majority. That's the classic social enterprise model 4, when you're willing to reinvest the majority of your profits to your purpose. And then model 2 and 3 are sort of in between. Model 2 is the B Corp model, where profit and purpose are equally important for you, and model 3 is where purpose is more important, but you're not actually willing to make the commitment to reinvest the majority of your profit. And then, so basically, as I've said, you fill out the questionnaire, you look at your results, you identify, you can read case studies here and descriptions of the model, you identify which model you'd like to proceed with, but you can of course always go back and change. And then specify your purpose, basically what your company is set up to achieve, who it will benefit, and how your company will carry out its purpose. To give you an example, sort of what could be to help people who struggle with homelessness, how by training them to become baristas. If you go on the Purposely website and you click on read more, you get lots of more examples and just helpful ways to draft your purpose. And then basically that's it. Then you get your selected model articles, which I've said were drafted by a law firm. To basically, although they don't constitute as legal advice, they are good to go if you'd like to directly go to Companies House. And before that, you need to just make sure that you download your answers, purpose and results here. You just need to sort of copy paste your purpose from here to your articles, and then you're basically good to go to Companies House. But I mean, obviously in most cases you'd like to consult with your business partners and shareholders and board and all that, because it is a big commitment. That's it in a nutshell. It was a fairly quick whistle-stop tour, and I'm happy to go into more details. I just thought it would make sense to open up for questions now.
Okay, thank you very much.